UConn gets a narrative-changing win as the Huskies check all the boxes in tonight's win at Villanova. Let's talk post-game. This is Locked On UConn.
You are Locked On UConn, your daily podcast on the UConn Huskies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Saturday night and welcome back to another episode of Locked On UConn. I am Matt Schonvisky, a two-time graduate, 10-year credentialed media member and host of the only daily UConn sports podcast, Locked On UConn, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one sports podcast network in the world. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you for making this your first listen each and every single day. On tonight's post-game show, we are going to recap, obviously, tonight's win over Villanova in what should be a narrative-changing win. Then, Terrence Reid, the bounce back from 2 games ago to today is absolutely, to me, astounding. From diving on the floor to protecting the rim and even throwing in some beautiful post moves, spin moves included, Reid did it all. We'll talk about his day. And finally, Dan Hurley trusted his bench today. What that should do for their confidence and this team moving forward. But first, today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Have your cake and drink it too. Birthday cake flavor is back. No fork needed. Vanilla-y, cakey flavor. Caffeinated kick and no sugar. It's party time. Order now at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. So the Huskies get the win. 10-point margin. It was a bigger win than 10 points. We know that. UConn was up 21 points in today's game. What a finish. What a game. What a response to a game that had everyone, including yours truly, questioning everything I had thought about this team. And, you know, we are so reactionary here in the Northeast, in New England. It's just our nature as a sports fan, as somebody that watches sports all the time. We see it in every single sport. Professional, NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, you name it. We are the most reactionary fan base in the country, this region. New York, Boston, Connecticut, New Jersey, the most reactionary. So when Creighton transpired earlier this week, the literal sky was falling among UConn Nation. The amount of comments that I got in the Creighton postgame show showed me, and the comments on social media, which I know, it's social media, I get it. But listen, a lot of the people on there, those are diehards. And that's the pulse of the fan base. Because UConn's social media presence is very strong. It's very large. And you can get a pulse of what the diehard fans are thinking on social media. And it was not a positive. It was not a positive. And yet, UConn goes on the road to a team on the pregame show earlier today. We talked about the quality team that Villanova is. UConn made them look inferior. That's how good this UConn team is. That's the UConn team that I know. That's the UConn team that I've been talking about since I took over Locked On UConn. The depth, the defense, the rebounding, the multi ways you could score offensively. We'll get to the scoring in a second. My goodness. Talk about spreading it around. This was the perfect game, especially as you're bringing guys back in the fold off the bench, getting them more minutes, getting them more experience, giving them opportunities to play, and not just yanking them after 1 or 2 miscues. Sometimes it's right to do that. Other times, let it play out. And tonight was one of those nights because this was a turning point. I'm telling you right now, tonight, today was the turning point. I don't think there's no going back. You did this to Villanova. Let's rehash it again for those that didn't watch pregame. Villanova entered 21-5, 12-3 in conference. Their only losses, season opener to number 8 BYU when they were healthy. Number 1 Michigan. Number 17 St. John's. Number 5 UConn. And Creighton. Those were their only losses of the year. Now they've lost a second time to the Huskies. Villanova is no slouch. They're 21-6, quietly having one of the best seasons in the Big East. Yes, we know they were third in the conference. This was a matchup between 2 and 3. But Villanova, still unranked nationally. I think that creates some semblance of a misperception of what this Villanova team is. Because this is one that under Kevin Willard that is competing and will be competing come tournament time. And UConn absolutely outclassed Villanova on their home court in front of 21,000 people. 34-32 at the half, and then UConn ran away with it. Got up by as much as 21 points in that second half. And they spread the ball around. Alex Karaban, 12 points. Terrence Reid, 11. Braylon Mullins, 10. Silas Demery, 9. Solo Ball, 9. Eric Ryba, 8. Jalen Stewart, 6. 4 each from Jaden Ross and Malachi Smith. The most minutes spread across the bench that we've seen. Ross had 17 minutes. Ryba, 17 minutes. They were the first 2 off the bench. And then in came Jalen Stewart and Malachi Smith, 13 and 12 minutes respectively. And what does that do? It allows your starters to get some much-needed rest. And it allowed your bench players to play through some ups and downs. Get some consistency. And man, did they shoot the rock. Jaden Ross says all his points came at the free throw line. He was 4 or 5 from the free throw line. He missed 1 shot. It was a 3-point attempt. Jalen Stewart went 2 of 2. Eric Ryba went 3 of 5. Malachi Smith went 2 of 3. 7 of 11 from the field, from your bench. 2 of 3 from 3. 6 of 7 from the line. Ryba had 5 boards. Jaden Ross had 2 blocks. The bench delivered. We're going to talk about them in the last segment. But today, the defense showed up. The defense showed up. Villanova went 24-59 from the field, 41%, only 25% from 3. UConn out-rebounded Villanova 37-24. 37-24. Dominant on the glass. So you limited 3-point shooting, you out-rebounded them, and you shot 55% from the field. And you shot 85% from the line. UConn's not going to lose another game like that, playing like that. Now, the big thing. Wednesday's coming soon. Wednesday's coming soon. You need consistency now. This is the team we know that resides here in Stores. They could do that on the road at Villanova. They're going to be able to do that at home against anybody, including a team that outclassed them at home. I was taking notes during the game. I'm just bringing some of those up. A few comments. We thought entering, and Dan Hurley talked about this post-game, he was considering changing 2 spots in the lineup. We talked about that after the Creighton loss. We expected Jaden Ross to get some time in the starting lineup and potentially Eric Ryba to get a surprise start. We were thinking that was going to transpire. Clearly, over the last couple of days, Hurley saw what he wanted to see in practice. And I don't know if you caught, we're going to talk about Terrence Reid in the next segment, but he was the post-game interview on TNT. And he was asked, point blank, how was practice coming out of Creighton? And he kind of smiled. He said it was pretty difficult. Hurley put it on him. But I think that type of coaching got the result that we saw tonight. 9-man rotation. We talked about that already. Alex Karaban. Team high, 34 minutes. Game high, 34 minutes as well. He had some tape on his leg. But he was moving nice. He wasn't looking like the cargo ship from the last game that Dan Hurley was talking about, right? He was moving very well without the ball. Offensively, spectacular. Finding open spots, getting easy layups. Huskies moved the ball around. They ran their offense and were really able to get what they wanted. A few moments that, especially late in that first half, Silas Demery had his second turnover, just bringing the ball up the court late in that first half. I think it was right before the 4-minute timeout. Hurley was chewing him out coming off the floor. Immediately put in Malachi Smith for a minute before putting Demery back in. Demery was a different player, in my opinion, after that. He still had 7 turnovers on the night. Silas did not have a great game. Let's run through the numbers. Yes, he had 9 points. He was 3 of 12 from the field, 1 of 5 from 3, 7 turnovers. But he did do a nice job distributing the ball with 6 assists. Wasn't his best game. He was, however, if you think back to my comments post-game Creighton, I wanted to see him be more aggressive offensively. And I thought early he did try to do that. He tried to get to the rim. He tried to force a few things. I liked to see that from him. I like to see him push it a little bit more offensively because I think he has it in him. And I think, just going back to Creighton, when other guys don't have it going, he's more than capable of doing that. But listen, this is exactly what this team needed coming off of the loss of Creighton. I thought UConn was going to recover. I didn't think it was going to be like this. This even surpassed my expectations. Being up 21 on the road at Villanova against this Villanova team who's quietly having a great year. Even Hurley postgame said, hey, Kevin Willard should be up for Coach of the Year here in the Big East. He's done a spectacular job there in year one. And UConn went in against the team that took them to overtime at home and just outclassed them. I think it speaks to the disparity in talent on the rosters. I think UConn is much further along, obviously. I think UConn, their top end, I still think is tops in the country. I do. I just think when they put it all together, I don't think with the experience, the coaching staff, and the offensive ability and what they can do, when they put their mind to it defensively and on the boards, I don't think anybody can top them. So I think we are back in store for a very exciting March and April. That's my proclamation here. But on the other side of the break, we're going to talk about Terrence Reid. I think this deserves its own segment because I was pretty hard on him the last game. He, to me, was the difference maker today. And he brought some of the things that I was looking for. And we'll talk about that after the break. Welcome to the 5-hour energy flavor draft. With 18 flavors to choose from, including new options like confetti craze, fruity rainbow, or cotton candy, there's something for everyone. The board is set, the flavors are ready, and I've got my number one pick for the 5-hour energy flavor draft. And that flavor, tonight, strawberry banana. It's a tropical delight with strawberry, a taste that goes in everything from smoothies and milkshakes to cakes and ice cream. Sweet strawberry flavor up front, soft, mellow banana finish, smooth, creamy fruit profile, reminiscent of a fruit smoothie. And listen, after workout in the mornings, that's my go-to. So it just reminds me of health, happiness, working out. Love it. Very low acidity and easy to drink. Gentle, sweet aftertaste. What more can you like than strawberry banana? 5-hour energy shots give you a boost with zero sugar. And also a lot of upcoming flavor innovations are planned. Again, strawberry banana, my favorite. Find your new flavor of 5-hour energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. Again, 5-hour energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. Back in on this post-game edition of Locked On UConn, the win over Villanova, 73-63. In this segment, we're talking Terrence Reid because he was spectacular tonight. I got to give props where props are due. And Terrence Reid, this is the player that I think we all know is more than capable. 11 points, 5 of 5 from the field, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 3 blocks. Can I say that again? 3 blocks. What did I say at post-game against Creighton? Hashim Thabit, Emeka Okafor. Last week, both honored, right? Emeka Okafor in the house against Creighton. Rim protector, Hashim Thabit, rim protector. And I said, UConn doesn't have a rim protector. Enter Terrence Reid. 3 blocks tonight. 3. And they were huge moments, too. They were huge moments. There was one. Villanova came crashing down the lane, and he got up and spiked it like a freaking volleyball. He had 4 straight possessions. You have the massive blocks, the massive block. Next time down the floor, he got his steal. Next time down the floor, he had a layup. And then the very next time down the floor offensively, he had his nice little spin move. Swish. That left Dan Hurley going. Terrence Reid had a night. And he also was getting down on the floor. And that all came in the second half. Got his first block on the under 16. He had a massive block later. The steal, the layup, the spin move. Man, Terrence Reid, he was spectacular tonight. I think Dan Hurley hit some buttons in practice. So that going back to that post-game interview on TNT. I think that little smile from Terrence Reid, I know Dan Hurley got to him in practice. Got to this team in practice. Not just him, but everybody that needed to step up. Everybody. This was a different team. And this was a different Terrence Reid. And if Terrence Reid can give you a semblance of a defensive presence, a rim protector, and serve that role the rest of the way. I know he had 4 fouls. I know he only played 23 minutes. You got 11 boards from your center spots today. Beats the 3 from a couple games ago. I know Terrence Reid went, 12 points, 12 rebounds last game, or maybe even a little bit more than that. I know he had 12 boards. I liked today's version of Terrence Reid better than even last game. He was an impactful player today on both ends of the court. And there was a stretch. He absolutely took over that second half. Took it over. To the point where you could just throw it down and Terrence Reid was going to go to work. And it didn't matter. If UConn gets this from Terrence Reid, UConn's entering another stratosphere in terms of what they're capable of this season. The fouls, got to stay out of foul trouble. I think there was one there that was a little ticky-tack. Braylon Mullins obviously fouled out. Got to curtail the fouling. But we're going to talk in the next segment. If the bench is now going to be looked at more and be trusted more, I think you take some more chances with your starters. But Terrence Reid, my, oh my. The progress over the last 3 games, just night and day. Completely. Night and day. So I want to see that continue. And be the formidable force that he can be. Because with the Reid that played like he did tonight, this UConn team is going to be very hard to beat. On the other side of the break, we're going to be talking about the bench. Darren Hurley talked about it post-game. We'll talk about what he said about his bench and how he needed to improve as a coach a bit. He was interviewed with TNT postgame. We'll talk about those comments. We'll talk about the bench performance tonight, and we'll do that on the other side. Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right. Flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. I love futures this time of year, whether it's picking a team to win the championship or grab a conference title. It adds that extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch. And now, not only can your pick cash, but it could also send you to the NBA Finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Again, visit FanDuel.com to get started. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
I'm Clea Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. It was a heavyweight showdown between number 3 South Carolina and number 7 LSU, and the Gamecocks rose to the occasion. South Carolina secured a hard-fought 79-72 victory to stay atop the SEC standings, using a balanced offensive attack to outlast the Tigers. Tessa Johnson led the way with 21 points, while Raven Johnson added 19. Medina Okot dominated the paint with a double-double, finishing with 12 points and 17 rebounds, while Joyce Edwards chipped in 10 points to round out the scoring. With the statement win, the Gamecocks now turn their attention to a road matchup at number 23 Alabama on Thursday. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
Back in on this Locked On UConn postgame edition, and we are talking strictly about the bench here in segment number 3. And they were a huge reason, we already ran through it, huge reason why this team performed like they did tonight. The depth that they provided was spectacular. Their performance was equally as good. And let's just talk through a few of the players that have not been getting a lot of run recently. Jalen Stewart, for instance. He had the most minutes he's had since February 3rd against Xavier. Since then, he's had 11 at St. John's, 10 at Butler, only played 4 minutes against Georgetown, 10 minutes against Creighton, got 13 minutes tonight. And he sunk 2 big threes. One in the corner, one up top. Big moments, too. Big shots. And as he does when he has the opportunity, as he did earlier in this season, he made the most of his opportunities. And he brought things defensively, just like Jaden Ross did. And we know what Jaden Ross is capable of defensively. We're calling for him to start tonight. Obviously, Hurley saw what he wanted to see in practice, went in a different direction. But he played well. 17 minutes, 4 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 blocks. Brought it. Eric Ryba also saw 17 minutes. And Malachi Smith had 12. The thing that stands out to me, Dan Hurley, accountability. He said, quote, mismanaged my bench. Talking also specifically about how he's handled Jalen Stewart. I've mismanaged my bench, and I need to get them on the court. My bench is why we won those tough out-of-conference games earlier this season. It's true. Now, some of that was out of necessity because if you think back, Terrence Reid was out for some of those games. Braylon Mullins was out for some of those games. Ross, Stewart, Ryba, Smith, they got meaningful minutes in those wins. Especially early, BYU, Illinois, Texas. BYU, Illinois. Braylon Mullins made his debut. Really didn't get up to speed against Illinois, and then he played at Kansas, obviously. But this bench had the experience going against those top teams. Florida as well. Arizona. So they are experienced against top competition. I think you're going to see more of like a rotation we saw tonight. Letting the bench play through mistakes. Bench wasn't perfect. Jaden Ross had 2 turnovers. Jalen Stewart had 1 turnover. They didn't make every shot. But they were aggressive. Malachi Smith got in the lane. Nice little layup. Jalen Stewart, like I said, taking the threes when he had the open opportunities. And then Eric Ryba, in my opinion, he keeps getting better and better and better and better. You're 9 deep. You've got a 9-man rotation here that's solidified itself, I think, today. And they're going to be given the opportunities as we move forward. I want to see the same type of play, same type of minutes against St. John's. I think it's going to be a difference maker. I also think it's contingent upon them, Ryba and Smith specifically, because at St. John's, those two had, I felt, if you remember post-game of that St. John's game, I felt both of those guys, the moment was a little too big for them. So I want to see how they react against St. John's at home, People's Bank Arena in Hartford on Wednesday. But this bench gives you some rest for your starters. It allows guys like Alex Karaban to not have to play 38, 40 minutes a night. And it also allows you to gain experience and consistency in case UConn faces foul trouble like they did again tonight. But man, Dan Hurley, just going back to his comments that he made, just the self-reflection and the ability to admit that when he was wrong about some things. I know some coaches I've coached here at UConn in the past, maybe not in the basketball program, but the pride that they have of never admitting that they've been wrong about something. That's why they're not great coaches. That's why they didn't stick. Dan Hurley is able to look in the mirror and reassess how things are being evaluated. And I think he had some sit-downs with some of these bench players, including Jalen Stewart, to just reset the relationship, reset expectations for the season, reset how things have been playing out, and just let them play free. And let them play through some mistakes instead of, hey, 1 or 2 mistakes, yank them, sit on the bench, you're not going back in the game. No. That's not the best for the development of any player. Let them play through some mistakes. Now, if mistakes are prevalent, that's a different story. But tonight, the rotation, the minutes, it's exactly what this team needed. It's a breath of fresh air. You have reinforcement off the bench. They put up 22 points. When's the last time a UConn bench outscored an opponent 22-8? Happened tonight. You saw what transpired on that court. So listen, all around, this game is exactly what the doctor ordered to get things right for the UConn Huskies. And I think the expectations and the talk on social media and the perception of this team and the narrative around this team, both nationally and locally, I think it's going to hit a change to a positive. You're now 25-3, 15-2 in the Big East. And you got the top spot in the conference here in the regular season up for grabs on Wednesday night. This crowd is going to be ready to go. After a performance like we saw in Philadelphia tonight, this team, this crowd, that arena is going to be rocking on Wednesday night. The anticipation, I can already feel it. Because UConn owes St. John's some payback. They owe Rick Pitino some payback for what transpired a couple weeks back. So as we move forward here, that's going to be it for today's show. As we move forward into Sunday, the women are back in action, so we will have a quick preview of them. Gino hasn't talked in a bit, but we'll summarize what's been transpiring with that team because, listen, it hasn't been smooth sailing just like the men heading into today. So we'll give the women their due on Sunday morning ahead of their next game. Tage Thompson plays, former UConn hockey player. He plays at 8 a.m. tomorrow, U.S. Canada for the gold medal hockey. Check that out. Hopefully he's healthy after missing the third period on Friday. And listen, stay tuned. This is going to be a fun March, a fun April. If UConn can perform like they did today at Villanova, we're going to be talking UConn basketball all the way to early April. No doubt in my mind. So with that, thanks for tuning in to today's episode of Locked On UConn. Make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On UConn on social media so you get all the latest episodes. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On UConn ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedonucon.supercast.com to join the club. Again, lockedonucon.supercast.com to join the club. And as always, go Huskies!